Alright, I'm working on this 856 again. So, I need to get a good set of hubs going here. The original hubs. This one looks pretty decent. When I measured it, it's got 5 thousandths wear. That is, it's 5 thousandths oversize. So that's not too bad. But this one here appears to have a crack right there above the keyway, coming out of the corner of the key slot. Don't want to be using that. So I got this other old set of hubs, and they look worse. Actually, the condition of the key slot inside is worse. Can't see that on the camera. But this one's only worn 4 thousandths, and that one's worn 5 thousandths. So I'm going to use these two. So we're going to put a key slot in there. I'm going to put the new key slot on the opposite side over here. Still be using that set screw. Typically what I like to do is add another set screw, and I'll bring it in from one of the sides. So the reason I'm not putting the bolt on top of the key slot is once you put a slot in there, you don't have very much meat left here, so you would only have a few threads if you want to put the bolt on top of the key. And remember, this is a Woodruff key, so the key's not going to come out in any way. It's trapped in there. And I think the two set screws 90 degrees apart from each other is a reasonable design to account for the worn hub. With one set screw, you can kind of pivot back and forth on that set screw. Now this is a broaching set for cutting keyways. So you have bushings to fit different size holes, and then you have cutters that you push through there. Now this cutter, if you go from left to right, each one of these teeth gets a little bit taller. So as you force it through there, each tooth takes a little bit more metal. And you have to space this out and push it through a couple times to get the slot deep enough. So that's what we're going to do. Need to have the bushing that's the right size to fit inside the hole. And then your cutter goes in the slot. And then you force that through there. Got some wood down there so my cutter doesn't hit the concrete. It's got chips all in the teeth. So we got to clean her up and reset to do it again. Second time through, you got to use this little spacer here. That brings the cutter out farther. Second time through, it touches on the first tooth there, so I don't have quite enough travel to get it started. My buddy made me these really nice cross beams here. They got a ledge to keep them in position, and for small things like this, I can just turn it sideways. Last time I did this, the slot wasn't quite deep enough, so I made a little extra shim. I think it's 9/1000. So it's a little bit wider on the top, so it doesn't quite go through. It'll hold it in position for me. So this is going to make my slot 9/1000 deeper. So I'm going to drill me a hole for a set screw 90 degrees from the original set screw. So I'm going to line up with this existing bolt hole. It's not too critical, so I got a long bolt in here, and I'm going to eyeball to this feature on the back of the mill just to get it parallel. I have it clamped with the flange on the back of the jaw, so that's supporting it vertically, the way that flange is sitting on the back jaw. So now I need to find my position in two directions, and to get this y-axis, I'm going to indicate this bolt. Not that critical, so that's good enough. It's within a few thousandths. So now I'm going to set my 0 on the dial for the y-axis here, because in order to find the x-axis, it's going to line up with this shaft. This direction's a little more critical. So you want to go up and down till you find your high spot, and then you go back and forth till you find your low spot. Then I'm going to set my dial on 0 for the other direction, for the x-axis. Then I bring my y-axis back into position. And I'm using an oversized drill bit so I can reach down far enough to clear this flange. Well, that looks good, but I forgot something. I need to put a flat on there so that the lock nut can seat. So the flat's got to be big enough to clear the points on a 9/16 head nut or bolt. It's got to be pretty big, so got this end mill here. I'm going to take it down. Don't really need 100% circle. I want about 75% circle. And after that, I have to put the chamfer back in position. Alright, that looks like what I want. Alright, there's going to be a burr in there when you get done. So if you're lucky enough to have a big reamer, a 1-inch reamer, that'll take care of it. And if you don't, you can use a round file. One thing to keep in mind here is, since this set screw is not going to be on top of the key anymore, it goes down in a lot farther, so you're forced to use one of these half-size lock nuts, or else go with a longer set screw. So I'm going to use the half-size lock nuts. And just make sure that the set screw goes into the hole far enough to push on the axle. Over here you got enough room to use a full-size nut. And then make sure your nuts are not keeping the set screw from going in. That ensures you're hitting on the axle with the set screw. Alright, that looks good.